Welcome, everybody. We're recording the session now. So today's focus, I'd like to do an overview around your near wallet, token economy, and token utility specifically. So what does it mean by near certification? The near certification is not a near certification, it's about you having your near wallet so you can receive your unit certificate, as a NFT, so as a collectible. I believe I've shown most of you where you would be able to see the NFT, but I am very happy to go and share that again as well. But typically when you go into your near wallet, you log into it and you will see your amount and the assets that you own, and then you'll see a little section that says collectible, and there you will be able to see. Yes, I will share it again. Give me just 1 second, but because I can't open my wallet directly. And but just a reminder, I would really like to get into token utility and token economy and how to create your own token and what are the metrics to think about in terms of the stages of establishing your token and your utility token and its market cap and all this. There's a lot of metrics, not that you're going to create your own economy today, but who knows, unit is its own economy as well. And these are metrics that you have to think about if you're going to create a project, if you're going to create your DAO and so forth. So I'm just going to go back into quickly a reminder about the Near wallet for everybody. It won't be too long, but just, it's always good to get refreshed. It's new tools. We need to get comfortable with them. Can you see my screen? Perfect. I love that I can see one or two people nodding their heads. This confirms to me. Thanks. So this would be your Near wallet. I've already logged into it, and as I've told you before, if you create your Near wallet, you're going to get it. It's going to show alphanumerical numbers on the top right. It shows that you're connected. If you're not connected, there's 3 ways to be able to secure your password. Your seed phrase is your 12 words passcode. Do not share it to anybody. There's a lot of scams going on asking you to give you support to help you, but they ask your seed phrase. Those are scams. Your seed phrase is the only information that is yours to be able to log on. So there's public key and private key. Your public key is what you can share because it's basically completely private, not private, it's public. It can be seen on the Block Explorer. Your private key is your seed phrase. It's your passcode, it's your NIP to get into your bank account. It's the information you just don't give to anybody unless you highly, highly trust them. I'm going to stress this out every single time because there's really good scams going around and they're very smart in giving you a sense of trust. And if you don't know the person, don't give them that seed phrase. So you go into your Near wallet and it looks like this. And you see you have balances here on the left side and you have USD, available balance. You can see send, receive, top up, and swap. Here, it's a fresh wallet that I have, so there's nothing in it. But if you were here on the side of balances, you would see different assets that you have. So obviously there would be Near token, and then perhaps other assets that are Near based because Near is the layer 1. And then you have projects that build on top of Near and they each have their token. And those would be the other assets you could own. But additionally, to receive NFTs, or when you receive NFTs, or when you buy NFTs, for example, you would go in the other section of the wallet, which is collectibles. And it's in this section. And here, in this wallet, because it's fresh, I don't have any collectible, but this is where would appear the images of your NFTs. And then they would you can click on them and you would access them wherever they are hosted on different NFT marketplaces. But this means in this section in your wallet, if you see any, it means you own them. They are yours. So typically, the unit certificates, as I have understood it, you would be able to see them here as they would be an NFT. And they would be connected with your Near wallet. This is the first time we are enabling a certificates at unit through NFTs on the Near ecosystem. So we're also learning about working with another chain, and this is about 2022 solutions of cross-network solutions. So there's still going to be questions. There's time as well, because a lot of it is done manually. So bear patience, but the unit team is there to share these things with you. And, Telegram groups, emails, always there. I'm going to stop sharing for now. And I'm going to deep dive a little bit more into, token economy, as this is the topic. And then I would love to have you all ask a few questions, and I'm going to show you afterwards, again, how you could create your own token for the fun of it on the Near ecosystem, just as a test run. So it will cost you, now that we're in a bear market and the Near cost is pretty low, it costs you 2.25 Near tokens, which would be about $10 USD, something like that, $11 USD. It may be more, and it's something that I would say is worthwhile to pay, even if the coin goes higher up, because it's a test. It's just a test for you to see how it goes and how it looks like. It's better to test certain things and spend, I would say, a tiny bit just to get comfortable with it before you actually enable your, token supply, your token economy of your project and your before launch and for the launch of it, and, eradicate any clogwork within it. But I'm going to have some questions for all of you right now first, and I would love to have people raise their hands to participate, or, participate in the chat as well. So tokens, there's different types of tokens, right? You have utility tokens, you have security tokens, and you have investment tokens. I want to focus on utility token, as Unit has a utility token base, a creator base, and those are utility tokens. And utility tokens, we talk about token economies between them, and token economies are highly used actually in providing positive reinforcements in behavior in general. That is the whole idea of where the utility tokens come from. And investment and security tokens require far more legal work and far more security work with cybersecurity experts. I'm not a cybersecurity expert, so I'm not going to delve into it and give you false information. So we're really looking at utility tokens, as it is for most of the crypto tokens that you can see around the ecosystems. Most of them are utility tokens. Because why are they utility tokens? Because they're how you can use them and you can interact on the platform with it, how you can participate in the DAO as a governance vote. For example, that's a utility token. I have X amount of VE token, voting power token, and I can go and vote. That's a utility. There's far more other ways of utilizing a token. So would you have any ideas of what are the other ways that a utility token is utilized in crypto? I would love to hear about it and what you think. And maybe we builders of crypto haven't thought about a utilization of it, but actually makes sense and maybe would be super useful. So in the Unit Master Platform, you can find a recording. Okay, sorry, I was reading. So to change the name on your Near wallet from a string of characters to your username, that's a good question. I'm just going to roll back on that quickly, because the Near wallet team has disabled for the time being that possibility and are fixing it, because due to security measures, they had to go remove that option and recreate it. So it's basically being deployed at the moment. So you should be able to change your username from the alpha string to your own name on the Near wallet, just not at the moment. So coming back to utility tokens, what would be utility usability that you can look at, you can think about? Please raise your hand or put in the chat. I'm going to dive into after other features of utility tokens and the metrics of it. Shashank Mala?
Yeah, so play to earn can be one of the utility, like creating the engagement on that side of any kind. Like for games, it can be completing a mission, or if suppose there are some sites where people come daily to just claim a small amount of tokens, so that the site can have more engagement with more and more people, and the site gets shared by in their friend groups.
Absolutely.
Also, if suppose someone wants to like earlier people used to give Doge coins on Quora. So if they liked anyone's comments or anyone's essays or theories, so they used to just give them Doge coins, small amount of tokens, just like that. Brave is also doing something like that only.
Absolutely, that's one way. So in a lot of gaming platforms, you will see utility tokens, as Gala Network, for example, is a gaming platform, is a metaverse as well, and offers the possibility of creators, just like every one of us here, to be able to go and build. And by being able to build, you're creating the Gala Metaverse, for example, and by participating in it, you receive tokens from that platform, which are highly low value decimals values, but it's still a reward for your participation. And and it's not just reward for participation of, you can go and create bots that go and participate. No, it's really you contributing to the creation of an environment, because it's a metaverse and a gaming environment. Just very specific use case here. You can also have it as utility tokens of, boosting behavior. We see that a lot in education, and there's a few education platforms that have utilized token economy, but more like in class, in school, in classes moving online more. But there's also now educational platform which you will get. It's like getting a sticker, when you were a kid, you would get a sticker because you participated or because you got a good grade. But now it's really more around participation. It's interactive education, just kind of like what we're doing here. We're doing interactive education between each other on specific topics. And by participating in a cycle, we're creating circular learning, and circular learning actually gets rewarded with utility tokens. So that's one way to do it, right? So those are some metrics of it. So I'd like to read a comment, which is a very good comment. It could be used in health service in the future to incentivize people to adopt healthy lifestyles or eating habits. Actually, Louise, that actually already exists with Sweat Economy from Sweatcoin. So you get rewarded in X amount of sweats for walking and activating your podometer on your phone. And by walking, you get points. There again, it's one-to-one token, but the one-to-one token is the value of what they've put their value of their coin. So it's not necessarily one USD, one sweat coin. That is how they set it up. It can be one sweat coin values 0.005, right? And so you need to do a lot. It's also for them to be able to remain economical and also bring people in and create that activity. If it's at 0.5, you can only withdraw when it's at maybe $1 or $5. So it creates that cycle of activity as well on the platform. But that's a reward base for being healthy, for walking, for standing up, as we have with our smartwatches that gives us a little telltale sign like it's time to stand up. You've been sitting down for too long. Sweat Economy, Sweatcoin does the same thing, step in, as well as Shashank shared with us here. And what is pretty interesting with Sweat Economy, Sweatcoin is that they've been around in Web 2 for quite some time, and they're moving now to Web 3. They're remaining Web 2 and they're remaining Web 3 now as well. And they have a lot of alliances. That the utility of the tokens as well is that you can utilize those tokens with third-party partners. For example, with Sweat Economy, you get X amount of sweat coins, sweat token. And then when you've accumulated X amount, since they have a lot of partners in the ecosystem, you can go and utilize those tokens to maybe get, female hygiene products for much cheaper. You can get razors, you can get a bottle that has a filter in it for your water, and they really focus around health and the deals you can get in health with their token. So that's a cycle and circular way to get people active in it, and also, get access to really cool products that are relevant to health. So that's a really good use case around utility token and utility economy. I can definitely recommend books around tokenization that covers the different aspects from utility, security, investments. And as we do it in every sessions, I will share these in the Telegram groups, a few links As always, I just don't want to overflow the chat right now when we're all talking with variety of links that are outsourced. So there's another thing that's important to look at is when you're going to build, let's say you and I, we're deciding to build our own project and we're going to build it on top of a layer one, right? And on top of a layer one is we're going to be able to build our application on top of that layer one. And we want to make our own token. But what are the things we need to think about for making our own token? What is part of a token economy in your views? What are the metrics we need to really think about before saying, okay, we're ready to launch? Can some of you give me some pointers as to what is really important about launching live your token economy? Shashank, I'm just going to wait a second if somebody else wants to answer or participate, and then I'll ask you to unmute yourself. Just going to give a chance to more people. Governance, security, scalability, I see here. Sure. But when you say scalability, what do you mean exactly? How can you make it scalable? What are the metrics you're thinking about? You know, these are questions, they're exactly the right words to look at and the stages to look at, but each one goes down. You're going to have to expand in each one of them. Purpose-driven token. Yeah, absolutely. Tony Bainey, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Shashank, I'll ask you afterwards. So Tony, I've asked you to unmute yourself. You're welcome to answer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so when you said scalability, we had to make sure the supply is right. It's like almost 7 billion people around the world. So we had to make sure that we have a right supply before we launch the token. If you put a limited supply, like 1 million or 2 million people, like supply for each token, if all the token is done, we don't get enough supply, then the token is done. There's no more growth opportunities there. That's why I think the near and like other cryptos are like put like unlimited like supply. Then so all the people around the world can like get the token and like eventually will grow even more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. Shashank, after you.
Yeah, so first of all, the person who is designing the tokenomics or doing the tokenomics should know what is the project about. It is a utility project or a security based project. So that helps to determine the type of tokens which he has to make. Also, the person should also know what will be the demand and supply, so that they can calculate or make the market cap of that project. Also see their competitors, who are their competitors, and what is their range of their market cap, and decide accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm going to deep dive in a few points here. So when you're thinking about your token economy, it's really the utility, usability of your token you're thinking about, but it's not just that, it's how people are going to interact on your platform. So it's important to think about how can you break down your users' behavior in very small chunks. Instead, you can look at it in a pyramid way. You know, you have the top of the pyramid, but you have to break it down in very smaller steps. So you have the goal of your platform, you have the ethos, the value of the offering of your project. Good. Now, how do you break it down in behaviors of your users? So user persona is a great way to do it. Who are going to be the different users? Who are you catering to? The niche, is it niche or is it broad? You know, it's different offerings. And then you segment it in different types of behaviors. And then you're also thinking about, in segmenting these different types of behaviors, you have to, let's say, look at 3 behaviors to address at one time. This is an example. It's one way to do it, but there's different ways to do it. But typically you look at the behaviors and then you select a few ones, because you're going to find that a lot of them will overlap as well. And then you have to create an appealing reward with a variety of items, but it's interactions on the platform. So when they vote, when they stake, for example, their token, they get voting tokens so they can go and participate in the governance. What does that bring to them? It brings them that they have ownership on choices of what's going to happen to the platform that they're interacting on. So that's a positive value to them, right? They're a decision maker. There's importance into what they have to say. That's one value that actually comes from owning the token and participating in that economy. And that's a value to you because you actually gain users, and you also get not just users, but you gain insight on how people behave on your platform and what people like or don't like about your platform as well. So it's basically a constant research for you to keep on growing. And that's one point of scalability, right? If you don't learn how people interact on your project, you don't learn onto your growth necessarily. Now, when you're designing your token economy, your token first, basically you have about 5 stages that are key design for your token. And they are as establishing your token utility, as we've said. What's the problem your token seeks to address, and how does it align to existing customer needs? Then your second stage is build your token mechanics. What is the mechanics exactly? Focusing on the token user experience, as well as your economical mechanic for circulation, supply, demand, inflation, and burn rate. I'm going to go into supply and market cap and price of your token a little bit after in the session. And you also have to look at, is it transferable? Is it not transferable? What are the policy aspects, if needed, be depending where you're launching your token? What are the regulations? And also simply depending of, is your project very niche or not niche for a country or not? So you can look at, Bermuda, you can look at Venezuela, for examples that are very, very taking into consideration the regulations, right? And then your third point that is super important, even if it's a utility tokens, it's legal advice and framework, compliance to jurisdictional laws where token is launched, as I just said. As it's not an investment token, it's a utility one. It's going to be different because it's going to impact also your users who hold it or maybe sell it, right? So tax reasons. Then technical design, that's when is the fourth stage, technical design, and the fifth stage, which is testing of each stage. So launching your token. So it's super important to look at the technical design after you've actually broken down the behaviors of your token and the different interaction of the token on your platform, because you're connecting your front-end design with your back-end design, and then these two have to work seamlessly with each other. So that's very important to keep in track. Then when you're going to the first stage, establishing your token utility, there's a few questions you can typically ask yourself is your business value proposition, just like building any business. These things, you will see them in white papers. If you read white papers of projects that you like, projects that you interact with, you're going to learn and you're going to see that it's very much segmented and decorticated the same way. It's a business plan, basically, but it's a technical business plan because you have to show the business proposal, the user proposal, the cost, the financials on it, the technology and the security together, and how you've thought through your security as well. So these are part of designing the economy. And then you have to prioritize the type of participants, the desired behaviors. And there's a few questions you can ask yourself is the token tied to a product usage or not? Does the token grant a governance action or not? Does the token enable the user to contribute to a value-adding action for the network or market that is being built? Those are typically token around that you receive by being a node validator to make a blockchain active. So for example, the near a blockchain invites a lot of node validators because that's how they keep active. But by having node validators on the network to keep the network active and creating blocks in a way, they get rewarded a percentage of tokens by helping the economy remaining active and sustainable. So that's one way as well. So there's very different metrics depending what you wish to create. So I hope that is clear, and I'm going to, don't worry, I will share certain articles with all of you afterwards. So now there's something that's important to look at. So for example, you go on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, right? You're going to see top coins for today, top tokens, whichever terms you prefer to use for the day. And you're going to see their market cap. And a lot of people are not exactly sure about how to read the market cap of an asset. Does anybody of you know what does the market cap englobes of a token and a project itself? I would love to see certain tryouts of answers on that one. And then I'll dive into it. And if there's none, it's okay, I'll dive into it, but I'm giving a chance for people. Price per token and token supply. Yes, exactly. Perfect. We have some knowledgeable peeps amongst us, more ones. And honestly, I learned that really late in crypto. I was just like, oh, market cap, I'm going to look at the 24-hour volume, and that's all I was looking at. And then one day I was just like, okay, I need to, if I'm creating a token, I didn't get to enter a use case of creating a token and creating a project and launching a token. And I never knew that information for a very long time because I did not look at the financials. I was really looking around user experience more in crypto. So learned it a little bit late in crypto, but good to know. Price of value, price of token and token circulation. It really is, you know, your market cap equals your token supply times your token price. And that is how it's calculated. So that's why we see, you know, the token price is high volatility. So the market cap will change a lot in the markets that we are in due to the volatility of the price of the tokens at the moment. I'm just going to go into another section that I want to show all of you. 1 second. Thanks for your patience. So market cap. So we look at designing your token economics for your token, right? And you have to look at defining your token utility and workflow as we talked. And then you also have to set up the basics. And when we say set up the basics, it's basically setting up how you're going to create the token supply, how much is going to be your token price. And then your token supply, there's a few things to think about because your token supply takes the amount of tokens that are going to be in circulation, as Shashank said, and the tokens that are not in circulation. So you can have X amount of tokens that are locked to offer a certain stability of your price. And that's what a certain economy of projects will do. They will lock X amount in private sales, for example, or from the core team, so that the token, once it goes into circulation, is at a somewhat stable price fee and can only go up, but cannot be rated under that. So it's a stability floor. You could look at it that way. So for the fun of it, I'm going to show you a platform from that is on the Near blockchain, and it's to create your token. And we can create a token together. We're going to do a simulation of creating a token together here. I'm going to go on the page and I'm going to share. Where is the share button? Share screen. Here we are. Can you all see? Perfect. So the website is Token Farm, and I can share it here to you in the chat. So in Token Farm, we're going to go to the homepage quickly first, as that would be. Okay. So I just had to scroll down. So in the homepage, you can see here, you have sort by liquidity, your tokens, if you have any, and an index of tokens. The index of tokens is to look at the total supply of each one of them and the different types of tokens. And the liquidity is to look how liquid are they? Is there a lot of movement on the market with these tokens or not? And so in these tokens, I wouldn't necessarily go and be like, oh, I'm going to buy each one of them. Just little fair warning of market, because anybody can create a token. So me, for the fun of it, I can go and create my own, like Fauve Altman, or my nickname Control-Alt-F in crypto, and just make my token for the fun of it and try and promote it here and there and hope that I'm going to have participant, which is some people do as influencer marketing to get people to onboard and buy their token, and they put it at a very small price, but it's not definition of a project per se. Some of these tokens are tokens of projects, and some of them are just, you know, meme tokens, as we like them, shit coins if you want them, or token representation of identity, which is, like we said, are being used far more for influencer marketing, which is pretty cool, but everybody gets to create one if they want to. It doesn't cost you that much, as I said. But now let's look at it. If we were to actually create a token for our project on Near, this is one way we could do it, just as an easy test run, right? It's 2.223 Near. So as I said, around $11. Now you see that's my Near wallet is here. I've connected with my Near wallet. It will prompt you have to connect with your Near wallet. You've all created a Near wallet. You can go on it, log on to the page. Now, token name, we can use it. We could say this is our unit demo unit demo sesh, because it's unit demo sessions on Fridays, and that could be our token name if we wanted it. Typically I wouldn't put a long name, as you know. Tokens they have pretty short names, so we could do it. We could do unit demo DMS if we wanted, and then the token symbol will be like UDS, for example. I'm giving really random names here. And then the total supply is the important metric when you're creating a token and you're creating a token economy. Your total supply is, once you set it up, you cannot re-increase it, you cannot decrease it. It's the max supply of the token, of your token, that you put on the blockchain. And once they're minted, once they've been set up, you cannot change that number. It's basically automated on blocks. There are metrics to be able to buy back tokens and burn them from people when they're inactive. Those are other metrics that are far more into the dev side. There is ways to go and offer more circulating supply, because the problem is sometimes your circulating supply isn't circulating, and you're at max utilization and there's no more supply to be able to be bought. And that's where metrics as being able to buy back some to create a circulation. So liquidity, making your token liquid, is the term that people use often, to be able to go and trade it and buy it and interact with it. And if your supply is maxed out, meaning your utilization that is 100, there's no interaction. And that can create an impact on your token price, and then create an impact on your platform, because basically people cannot interact with your platform anymore because there's nothing circulating. It's just blocked in a sense. So your total supply is a metric to very much take in consideration. Token decimal will impact it's a decimal to pay attention into the network you're interacting on. So it could be, on Near, on Polygon, on Ethereum. The token decimals is often 18, but it can be sometimes 24. I wouldn't worry too much about that, as it is automatically set up for you, because this is Near based. So it's set up on Near specifically. It's just a metric to keep in mind. Then for the fun of it, we can upload an image, an icon. It could be the unit logo that we have for the students. It could be, if you're doing it for yourself as a, let's say, influencer marketing, you can put your face, you can put an NFT that you created as you want. You basically choose it. And because I'm creating it, my account is this one, because it's connected to your Near wallet. And that's how it goes. And so once it is, let's say, live here, people can see, because the blockchain is transparent, right? If you have your public addresses, people can go into the block explorers and be able to look. So Marmar.Near, which is a project on Near, it's a foundation. You can go on it and see their different interactions on the block explorer. The symbol is Marmaj, and it's basically that's a project token, and they created that. And it's their project token, so you can go on there and buy it. Typically, that's how it goes. So that's a very direct testing demo to be able to create a token on Near. I think is really useful just to see how it looks and interact. And you're going to pay $10. You're going to see how it works. Also thinking about your total supply, because your total supply is a metric to take in consideration depending what your project is. What is the utility of your project? What are the behaviors that you want people to have with your token? Considering that once that is set up, you cannot revert. You can't go back on it. You would have to create another token, for example. I'm going to see there's a few comments in the chat. So the application will be given permission to spend up to 0.25 nears towards network fees incurred during use. Yes. So any interactions, any transaction that you send on the near blockchain will ask you that it will take up to 0.25 near tokens. So a few cents or maybe $1 or $2, depending on the value of the near token. But typically it simply says up to 0.25 as a warning, but it typically takes 0.01 cent of veneer in USD. It's transaction fees. You have to pay for the transactions you send on the network. This is how each network is basically set up for them to remain viable as well. It's not the same network fees, which we call them also gas fees, like on Ethereum, where you could, depending on the time of day, because on Ethereum, it's based on time of day. It's when there's activity on the network that the gas fees will change their fee. On Near, it's always set up to be the same exact fee at all times. So that one does not change. It simply changed the value of 0.25 Near changes per the value of the Near token to that day, right? It's a percentage of what it is. How can we adjust the percentage of tokens that we are giving out to users to earn? That is a good question. How to adjust the percentage of token? Well, that is depending on the metrics. That's why I was establishing your token mechanics, so that the mechanics are based upon the percentage of token that you're going to give for X activity. So X activity, for example, is when somebody, let's say simply as that, very simple, dumbed down image is somebody signs up on my platform. Well, for that activity, so for signing up on my platform, I said that they should get 0.05% of the value of one token, for example, for that activity. And then you set up all of these mechanics. That's where the token economics and really the mechanic with your technical design is very important, because all these behaviors are the behaviors that can be rewarded or awarded a percentage of token. Not every activity, user behavior on the platform needs to be rewarded or awarded. It's just the certain ones will have the metric of receiving tokens. And that's something that you need to establish before launching, because that goes into the development of your token economy. So with your developer, they're going to build that. If you don't have these metrics, you can't basically build your token economy. I hope this was clear. So I'm going to read the other questions and answer them. So what's the difference? How do I know the amount relates to the behavior interactions I want to drive? I'm not sure I completely comprehend that question. I'm going to reread it. How do I know how the amount relates to the behavior interactions I want to drive? I'm not sure this question is very clear for me, but I think it relates to the prior question of setting up the percentages and the reward for the behaviors. What's the difference between token creation and token generation event? It's the same thing. To my knowledge, it's the same thing. It's simply terms differently used depending on the platforms you are interacting on. You know how each network likes to be a little bit unique with their own terms, network fees, gas fees, GWEI, for example, GWEI, they're all the same. So it's just term differentiation, semantics. What's the role of AI in rewarding user activity? I'm not specifically talking about AI, but you could look at it as AI, but it's the same basis. Is basically what are the comments of your blockchain network, of your backend building the code? What are the comments that you have enabled? So then that they're enabled onto the blockchain. And once they're onto the blockchain, those are the behaviors, those are the comments that you've set up into the activity, and they're automated. So once they're automated, that's how they roll. And then you can add a new comments on the network. But this is something, the term internally will set up. Then if everything's agreed, they put it on the code, and that's how your code functions. And that's the same thing for Web 2 or Web 3. You can come and interfere in Web 2 more with the code. In Web 3, you can more halt, so create a pause, or for example, fork or changes the commands for them. But it's automation. Blockchain is basically, a lot of it is automation once it's live on the network. I'm going to read another question. So when creating your token, where do you put the roadmap? White paper, how do you list your token on an exchange? Those are really good questions. So when you create your token, where do you put the roadmap? The roadmap, let's say, first of all, let's look at the white paper. This is before you are even launched, before you even build a website, for example. It's your technical idea, it's your business plan, it's your also can be your investment plan, because investors will want to look at your white paper because you got really deep into the details of how your project is going to look like. A roadmap is always useful to have in a white paper when you're going to start, before launch, until you go onto the test net. So on the test net is people can simulate interactions of your project without paying. They're paying with fake coins just to get a hand of how does your project work properly on the network before you actually launch on mainnet and actually costs, right? So, but also a roadmap, if you really want to create a trust-based behavior and a trust relationship with your users, having it on your website is super important. Communicating it on your socials. This is just basis marketing for communications and being open and trustworthy, right? Trust is a big part of crypto due to the fact of far more ownership and personal jurisdiction around one's finances as it is. So having a roadmap on your website is really important. People are going to want to look at what's going to happen. They want to know when there's going to be important dates, launch dates, token dates. When are you able to buy? When can you participate? Or they already have the token, but they can't use it yet, utility token, and they want to know when the utility is coming in. So on your website is a big point to have. And how do you list your token on an exchange? So there's many ways to list your token on an exchange, but a lot of exchanges, let's say tier 1 exchanges, if we look at Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, all of these, they will request typically X amount of volume for a period of time. So a market cap, they will look at your market cap, so your token supply times your token price, and they will look also at your volume and your TVL, total value locked of your token, and the activity. So if you're brand new, you won't be able to be on the tier 1 exchanges. You can go on other exchanges, mostly decentralized exchanges, trading platforms, because you need to create adoption of your projects. And to be on the tier 1 block, decentralized exchange or exchanges, you need to show that your project has a market viability and market adoption. And without that, it'll be difficult to go on tier 1 exchanges. But also when you go on tier 1 exchanges, you have to be able to promise a certain activity for a period of time, or you can get delisted as well. So you have to fulfill a certain market standard for a period of time. So I'm going to read another one. I understand correctly that I, as the owner of all tokens, can give them out to community members for their activity? Each one will get a different amount, and of course they won't be able to sell these tokens because they're worthless, but it would be fun to score points, or I have got it all wrong? No, you've got it fairly right, Vital. It just depending where you created it, on which platform you created it, they're not worthless. If you're building a project and you want it to grow, there is worth out of that, and also there's simply worth about creating something and having fun with it also, and sharing it to others, as simply as that. Testing is a way to learn very well before creating too much cost for you and too much cost for people who are going to have it. A lot of us have really random tokens because somebody was creating a project and just wanted to see how it worked before on testnet, and you have test assets which are at zero value, but they're a way to learn as well. And then if you're creating these tokens and giving them out, it's also a way to create a form of, you could look at it an ambassador program. Hey, you've participated a lot, you've really helped me grow my project. I really needed legal advice. I really needed technical advice. I needed security advice. Here's some tokens, you have them. They're your early adopters. And oftentimes your early adopters are exactly your friends and family and advisors and mentors who basically helped you, and you're just like, thank you, now you're participating in. So it's also, for them, it's a way to participate in your project with belief of it growing, because they've actually given some of their time to you and their advices. So you're giving them a thank you note with these tokens. And if you're actually preparing for a launch, your project and you do it well and your project has good adoption because you just made the craziest new hype project that everybody loves, your token, your price is going to grow. And therefore, they also have a value of having, in the end, invested early in you and your project. It's just how it goes by working in startups and being entrepreneurs, you know? It's a big part of it. It's the same thing, you know, it's creating a startup. Your token is basically, you could look at it as your token economy, your token that you created is in a way your startup you're creating. It's a part of it. Another question, how do we implement or connect the token with the platform we're creating? That is a very technical question, and I'm not going to dive too much in it. It's a good question, but I would say go read about it. There's a lot of information on that, but that is very much developer focused. You can go on HackMind, which covers everything around tech and every tech from Web 2 to Web 3. And there's a lot of developers giving how to or breaking down very specific tasks to building to help other developers build. And also, you know, Substack, which is specifically for developers. I will share everything afterwards as well. But I'm not, basically your token is part of your code because it's the commands of your code, and that's how it connects to your platform, because your platform is connected to your code, is connected to UI, UX front end as well. So it's together, they're puzzle pieces that without each other, they're not going to work. Quick answer on that one. When creating a token on Token Farm, you're creating L2 token. Thus, do you need to code anything? No, actually Token Farm, that's why I showed this one to you, is there's no coding required. There's no financial investment besides that 2.25 near requested from you. It's really simply to have fun creating a token economy, using it for fun between friends in crypto, just for the sake of it. I created a meme token. I want to send it to people who came to my event. It's another way to create a sort of POAP, you know, like a little thank you token, but it has no value. But a few of them create tokens out of that to show how it is, to maybe gain a few adopters as well. But it's really for people to test and discover how it is to create a token and then interact with people with that token. But there's no code relating to it. It's really just for the fun of it, of creating a token economy and learning around token economy. On your wallet, does your wallet address become the contract address for your token? Yes, for that one on Token Farm, yes, because it's connected to your account. You can create another near wallet for, let's say, your DAO. Unit DAO creates unit DAO.near, for example. For one of the projects I work with on the Near ecosystem, well, we have different wallet addresses of Near for the dev DAO, developer DAO specifically. So for all the devs working on the project, we have a community DAO for that project itself, specifically for it, and the funds are basically directed by the DAO for X address. And you can create different wallet addresses, and you can create multiple owners on that. But that's another thing to really deep dive into. How can you have multiple owners? A bit more complicated to do, or you really have the person that is liable from regulations with legal liability if it's owned by only one person, obviously, right? Just think about a business and there's the CFO, you know, they can't just go around with the funds. And if they do, well, there's going to be sanctions. I'm seeing if there's any more questions. Might you know an exchange where most new tokens are listed currently, excluding one exchanges? So those are typically the decentralized exchanges or the trading platforms where you're going to be able to see all tokens created. But I would be very careful with that because there's a lot of very brand new tokens, and you can trust in them if you know maybe the team members, but those are very much like high chance taking to go onto those trading platforms and just buy any tokens. I would be very careful with that unless you're very good day-to-day trader and very comfortable with the market, but be careful. So Aragon and Token Farm operate differently in the sense that the token created through Aragon could be used to as a utility token for a DAO. That is very true. Aragon is on Ethereum. It's been around for about 6 years at this point. They're a very solid platform for creating DAO tokens and DAO structures. I simply showed you the one for creating your token economy quickly and token supply, so you could get familiar with it and you can go test it yourself. And on Near, as you all have been prompted to create your Near wallet. But that's why we went on that one this time. But there's tons of other places where you can create token economies, you can create DAOs, all that. Do you have any more questions? And if not, I will wrap it up, and I will be sure to send you a few links in the Telegram group chat of the student cohort. And if not, we're going to see each other next week. And as Anchor shared in here, next week demo session will be for creating a token economy as well, but on unit network specifically, and the new exciting features of the platform and all that it offers on unit specifically focused. I hope this was insightful and that you got to learn quite a bit. And if there's any more questions that come to your mind, please ask each other in the Telegram groups and talk to one another. But it was a pleasure to chat with all of you today. Have a great weekend.